Every time a new Five Nights at Freddy's game comes out, there is a swirl of theories and speculation about what that new evidence brings to the table. And I know I do the same, and we hyperfixate on the newest releases of Five Nights at Freddy's so much that sometimes some of the old mysteries get left by the wayside. So in the downtimes of FNAF, which is right now, I do like to go into those older games and see what new evidence can unearth about them. Any mysteries we've forgotten about, any questions we've yet to answer. And a perfect one rests right in the middle of FNAF 3. Slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. Now, right away, I do hear some of you ask, what is there that's unsolved about FNAF 3? FNAF 3 is one of the more straightforward games in the franchise. William Afton is unearthed by some guy trying to make a haunted house, finds Michael Afton at an old haunted house, they face off for a bit, Michael Afton lights it on fire, but it doesn't kill William. And while that's technically like 60% speculation, I hear you. At a base level, this seems already solved. What's the issue here? Well, there are several details about FNAF 3 that still don't make sense to this day. For one, what are the phantom animatronics? Are they simply hallucinations based off of the heat that Mike is experiencing? Or does William Afton have some sort of projection ability because of his agony? Which isn't necessarily impossible. How is the marionette there? In one rare camera shot, you can see the marionette in this hallway with a reflection in the puddle, which implies that it's actually there. And there are other details throughout this game that present similar issues. They're mysteries that, while not necessary to solve the timeline, it would still be nice to know. Like, why are most of the Happiest Day minigames featuring FNAF 2 animatronics? What are they exactly saying? And for this video, what the hell are the masks in the Happiest Day arcade game itself? And I'm not talking about the main ones, the FNAF ones we know of. No, I'm talking about on the walk-up, where you see these 5 masks that don't line up to any Five Nights at Freddy's character at all. Now, there is a lot of speculation on what these masks might mean. Hell, some people think the alligator mask means that Andrew's sitting there, doubtful, but many people, myself included, have instead linked it up to this snippet we get in the phone call of Night 4.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees. Safety is top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technicians. Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected.
Understandably, it feels like it's just a throwaway line, but if we have costumes that are not relevant to Freddy Fazbear's being used, and we have masks that don't line up to any Freddy Fazbear characters, it would make sense if these two details were linked. But if so, what are these characters? Why do I think it's suddenly solved? Well, I actually predicted this very question would be solved last year. Now, last year, before Secret of the Mimic even came out, I made a full video on exactly that question. Will Secret of the Mimic solve what these FNAF 3 costumes were? But at the time, all I had to use was the promotional material. Hell, we didn't even know that Fazbear bought up MCM afterwards, we just had to guess based off the books. But now with the full game out, all the costumes we can find, and the new timeline that's presented, was this speculation correct? Well, based on the timeline alone, it's definitely possible. And door number 2 was a bust as well. But hey, new sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Titan Mattress. You might not believe me when I say this, but you're supposed to feel rested when you wake up in the morning. I know, it's a wild concept. I always woke up more tired than when I fell asleep, but it turns out you don't have to. There's a better way. With Titan Mattress. I've been working with Titan Mattress for some time now, and I've been sleeping on their Titan Plus Elite for almost half a year. And for a hot sleeper like myself, it is literally a game changer. Spring is on the way, and not only are we getting more pollen, I'm dying, but hotter temperatures, and I am a sweaty sleeper. But not only is the Titan Mattress insanely comfortable, but my Titan Plus Elite has a top layer of Glaciotex Cooling Cloud Pillow Top. It literally feels like the entire mattress is the cool side of the pillow. I cannot overstate how nice it is. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the best mattress I've ever owned. So much so that when we upgraded our boys to their new bunk beds, we made sure to get them the Titan Plus Elite 2, obviously in their sizes. Something that Titan makes it easy to do, with free shipping to your door if you live in the US, and it comes in a box, rolled up and sealed. It's so easy to set up, and honestly, a little satisfying to watch the vacuum seal break. And my kids will be able to use these mattresses for a long time as they grow up, because Titan mattresses are durable. A third-party testing busted Titan mattresses with 200,000 rolls, double the industry norm, just to prove their durability. Look, sleep is important. None of us get enough of it, but make the sleep you do get better. Visit titanmattress.com/RYTOAST and use my code RYTOAST for 30% off your order, which is a huge steal for their already affordable prices. Thanks again to Titan Mattress for sponsoring today's video. Well, I guess we're trying door number 3 now. Secret of the Mimic very much pulled the curtain back on the business practices of Fazbear, especially in relation to Murray's Costume Manor, the company we're pilfering throughout all of Secret of the Mimic. It seems like Murray's Costume Manor and Fazbear Entertainment had a storied history together, at least long enough that it spanned to the early 70s as far as we're aware, maybe longer. But a year or so before the game takes place, Murray's Costume Manor was at its worst of times. Lawsuit after lawsuit after tragedy after tragedy, they just kept bleeding money and nothing was working, until eventually Fazbear came along and promised their most lucrative contract ever, enough to fully fix the company's financial situation, but it was a huge task, basically making an entire fake pizzeria. And as they were getting closer and closer to finishing it, Fazbear kept changing the contract, changing the details, and delaying the contract, making it take longer and longer until they were just burning money and fully out of it and on the brink of bankruptcy. William Afton himself swoops in with an offer. Hey, your business is doing badly. Let me buy it up for you. You can even continue to work with this business under our brand. Now, it's unclear if Edwin Murray actually agreed to that, because it seems like around this time is when the Mimic attacked and likely killed him, but it does seem like Fazbear Entertainment still retained all of the assets of MCM. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to collect what Edwin was working on. So everything that Murray's Costume Manor by the late 70s was owned by Fazbear Entertainment. In other words, Fazbear Entertainment bought up an entire costume factory before the events of Freddy Fazbear's. So, timeline-wise, if something went wrong in a 1983 Freddy Fazbear's, wouldn't you know it, but there's an entire factory's worth of costumes they can just pull from. So they easily would have the means to use the Murray's Costume Manor costumes after a Springlock incident. We can't use the classic suits? Okay, well, while we make new suits, just put them in one of these. So the question is, if they have the means, do any of the costumes we know of, or suits or characters in Murray's Costume Manor, line up with the Happiest Day masks? So finally, do any of the costumes or characters we find in-game line up with the masks we see in the Happiest Day minigames? And could they be the suits that are not necessarily appropriate to FNAF? Well, the easiest ones are still the green, pink, and purple ones. After all, we have Monty in several iterations of him, we've got this pig character, which that looks like a pig mask, and we have this hippo variant, which many people believe is an early Mr. Hippo. And granted, the purple mask is ambiguous, it's probably the closest you could make a hippo mask in this art style. So then what about the blue and the orange one? These get a bit more tricky, but we do have options here. For the blue mask, my most likely options are either a variant of Hedgehog Hudgy or a variant of Swingbee, because there is this blue variant of Swingbee. And I understand a blue bee would be weird. Blue bee? No. A blue Swingbee and a blue Hedgehog Hudgy makes sense here. But as far as the orange mask goes, it does have a bit of a droop to the design. It could be Swingbee, it could be Chica, but if neither of those really sell you, there's this orange variant of the elephant outfit, and that curve could be an elephant trunk. This guy might be a perfect fit for the orange mask. Okay, I hear you. Does the masks of it make sense though? Like, sure, we can imagine that if we had to temporarily stop using Freddy Fazbear characters while we made new suits, we used some random suits we had lying around from MCM. But why did they make merch of it? Why would they be selling masks of characters that aren't meant to stick around? And that's a fair criticism, but consider that they didn't have to make merch of it. One of the collectibles we get in Secret of the Mimic is a hedgehog mask. It's a mask of Hudgy the Hedgehog. So clearly, Murray's Costume Manor was already making merchandise for these marketable characters. And look, Fazbear Entertainment is a lot of things, but unwilling to profit off of a tragedy is not one of them. They are more than willing to profiteer at everybody's expense. So just because a couple employees died and we gotta make new suits, doesn't mean we're gonna stop selling merch. And if when Fazbear found these costumes in Murray's Costume Manor next to bags of masks and toys and bags and hats and glasses, of course they're going to sell those toys and products with those characters. It just makes sense. And not only does it just make sense, but they literally could. We see it in front of us. So I think it's fair to say that that video was right. I think the weird costumes that get used in the FNAF 3 phone calls when the spring lock failures happened at Freddy's and Fredbear's were the costumes they had lying around after the MCM buyout. Look, does this solve the timeline? No. But it does help to flesh out the timeline and give new details when there were previously just blanks and question marks. These kind of theories help to color your timeline and show evidence where there was a lack of one. Connect the pieces and make them feel less like discordant things that happened adjacent to each other. At least, I think so. Do you think this is right, or do you think I've lost my mind? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, YouTube thinks you liked this video, and I hope you do too. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share with hashtag ToastArt. A huge thank you to the best channel members, the Dough Risers, and until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.